I wrote some comments down because I wanted to make sure we said everything we needed to say. I never write, but I wrote today. Greetings, everybody. Special shout out to all the veterans who are here, who made it to join the Peace and Justice contingent. We're proud to say that just a few weeks ago, members of Veterans for Peace and IVAW joined thousands of others across the U.S. in Ferguson, Missouri, in the aftermath of the wholesale police execution of Michael Brown. Protesters cheered when they saw those veterans there united with them. Right now, Veterans for Peace is making one of our biggest leaps as an organization by developing a new means of expressing our struggle for peace. We're uncovering a new lens, a new vision, a new second sight, as Du Bois would call it, for understanding how we cannot isolate or even worse, limit our efforts to peace at home. We can't separate our movement from the peace abroad. Rather, we need to see now more clearly than ever that with this new lens, our new movement and our new slogan is peace at home and peace abroad.
All right.
So, when we fight against the drones that are being used in Pakistan and the drones that are being used in Afghanistan to shoot down innocent people at parties, we're also fighting against the drones being used in Newark, New Jersey. We're fighting against the helicopters being used and the tanks being used in Ferguson, Missouri. The G20 in Pittsburgh, the use of military technology against those people fighting here. There was a brother talking about how when they were setting up for this march, the police were out before we were to tell us where we were allowed to line up. That's a military state. That's a military dictatorship. Even though we've taken the streets over, it's in the format that they wanted us to be organized in. But it's not enough to stop here with peace at home, peace abroad. Because what does it mean when we say at home, and what does it mean when we say abroad? Where do the borders of our home begin and end? And when does a region in the world become abroad? It's not yours if you live here. If you call this home, you're not a Native American. You're probably most definitely from somewhere else. But you claim this as your home. Most Native people understood hundreds of years ago, on a much more profound level than we do today, that the earth itself is our home. And it was modern notions of property and wealth that were absurd and counterproductive to human growth as a species. Wherever humans reside is our home as human beings. So when we say peace at home and peace abroad, we need to understand that the whole world is our home, not just the country that you live in. So we in Vets for Peace are hardly the first people to discover or understand that human emancipation must be global in scope and effort, international by design. In fact, we're behind the learning curve right here in 2014 because 100 years ago, 100 years ago, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, workers around the country defended the Lawrence sit-down strike. In New York City, when a bunch of innocent immigrant girls from Europe were massacred in a fire in a garment factory called the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, people protested around the country when they heard about those young girls burning alive, stuck in that building 100 years ago. And even more recently, when 9 young black men from Scottsboro, Alabama were going to be lynched for falsely being accused of raping 2 white women, it was under the leadership of the communist movement that workers all around the world, in Latvia, in Johannesburg, in Harlem, in Tampico, in Montevideo, in Port-au-Prince, stopped work. They were arrested to defend the 9 Scottsboro boys, and that was 90 years ago. So history doesn't always move forward, sometimes it moves backwards, and we need to deal with that today. So while we're out here, the newspapers are reporting that the Ebola virus is ripping across the borders of West Africa, and they're calling it West Africa's Ebola outbreak. Do you know what Ebola does to your system? You vomit blood, your temperature skyrockets. It's one of the most painful viruses you can contract and die from in a matter of weeks. Why is it called West Africa's outbreak? It's humanity's Ebola outbreak. You never hear about West Africa's gold mines or West Africa's rubber, because these are resources that capitalist thieves can generate profit and wealth from. So when it comes to their wealth, the capitalists have no borders, but they make us believe in borders. In Sierra Leone, Volunteers are being told to tell residents of Freetown, the capital city, to report anyone suspected of illness to the authorities. Anyone suspected of illness. So now it's a crime punishable by death to be dying. Only a world system that places profit before people would be so backward in treating a virus that vaccines we already have discovered could cure and refusing to treat the people because they say it costs too much to produce. But how much does it cost? We're veterans. We were in the military. Curing all the thousands of infected victims today would not amount to the cost of 1 week of U.S. military aggression around the world. Not 1 week. And we've seen the weapons. We've seen the toys that they use to conduct surveillance around the world. So I just witnessed this when I was in the Capitol building last week listening to one of the representatives from USAID bragging about how the United States was going to set up 400 beds in Liberia. 400 beds. 400 beds and a bunch of old defunct soccer arenas. That's their idea of aid to the people around the world. This came from the same USAID that's trying to undermine the Cuban economy with spies and social media subterfuge. The same USAID that smuggled donated supplies to Haiti's earthquake victims out of the public hospitals and into the country's private clinics that only the rich can afford. The same USAID that claims humanitarian missions the world over and leaves nothing but spies and U.S. agents of warfare and economic imperialism behind, furthering the cause of American aggression. Veterans today are not just those of us who have worn the fatigues, because we're all veterans of the struggle of surviving every day in this brutal, relentless system. My grandmother was born into a sharecropper's family in Alabama. She died at 58 of lung cancer after spending her life cleaning other people's houses. She's a veteran of the struggle. It's the same struggle that steals healthy young black men from their families in the name of gun violence, police execution, or drugs. This is the same world, and it's turned upside down on its head. It's going to take so much more than this protest today to turn it back upright. So let's give the politics of sustainability some real legs to stand on. If we make our commitment international in every way, and if we learn from the best veterans for peace and justice, past and present, we can make bigger leaps in the forward. And I know I'm ready. My students here at the college are ready. Veterans from Iraq, Veterans Against the War are ready. Are you ready? That's the question. Thank you.